So our presenter is Val Emanuel. Val is a native of California and a model, entrepreneur, and motivational speaker and founder of RifCare, which is not only female-owned, but it's also, and this is an acronym I had to look up, it's a BIPOC, which stands for Black, Indigenous, and People of Color Company. So, so she formed RifCare a couple of years ago or a year ago. And she began her career in 2017 by founding Role Models Management, an ethical talent agency and production agency with climate activist Anne Therese Gennari. Val's mission was always about using her business and platform to bring awareness to environmental and social activism. So in 2019, Val realized she wanted to start a consumer brand without creating more environmental harm. Right after giving birth to her daughter, Val began selling hemp oil at local farmers markets and quickly began selling out every week. Due to her product success and popularity, a few months later, Val expanded her brand by introducing hemp fiber menstrual pads. Thus was born RifCare, a first of its kind menstrual care brand made with hemp fiber and 100% plant-based materials, making period products that are better for one's body and the planet. So please welcome Val.
Oh my God, thank you so much. I don't know who sent you that bio. Some things were off, but I really appreciate you introducing me. No, I think I sent my bio from like 5 years ago to you. It's fine. And then I like added on 2 sentences. Sometimes I'm unprepared. Anyway, hello. My name is Val Emanuel, as you just said. I'm an entrepreneur. For the high schoolers on here, I'm also a TikToker. You can find me at Malibu Mama. I do the TikTok. I am talking about periods though, and I'm sorry for anybody who has tomato sauce on your plate because I talk about periods a lot. Okay, so and my company's RifCare. So we actually just launched 4 months ago. It's a first of its kind period care brand. We're the first brand in the world to actually use hemp fiber in menstrual care. Menstrual care, 98% of it's actually made with plastic, PET, polyurethane, or cotton, and in a very small percentage organic cotton. So in case some of you don't know, there's a huge problem with cotton right now. I think we've lost about 50% of the cotton farms in the past decade. That's due to a lot of things, mostly climate change, environmental degradation. And so RIF stands for Regenerative International Female. And what we're doing is trying to basically regenerate the soil with a consumer product. And so that's what we've been able to do with RIF. Okay, how do I go to the side now? Oh, there it goes. Yeah. So like I said, we're the first company to commercialize hemp fiber and period care, hopefully not the last. I mean, it's a trend that we really do hope will catch on, because if you go to any Target or CVS today, you will see in the menstrual care section or in the leak protection section, it's half empty. And it's been that way for the past year. And it's a problem that no big companies are solving. And we also believe that regenerative businesses are the next frontier. I think a decade ago it was organic. Everyone was looking to organic and sustainable. And now I think we're moving on to regenerative and carbon neutral. Companies like Patagonia, Reformation, and a lot of these bigger conglomerates are starting to look at regenerative, not just even going carbon neutral, but how can we make the planet even better than when we found it? In case you don't know this, but cotton takes up 1/4 of all the pesticides in the world. That includes for production, for food, for livestock, everything. And it's really something that has like 2 uses. So it's kind of insane that we would keep growing something and using something that has so little use for humans and so much environmental degradation. And there's major problems in women's health. I mean, first of all, it's severely underfunded. I think $330 billion went to investments, 2% of that went to women. And then I think $110 billion went into health. And then also like 1% of that went to women's health. So there just hasn't been much innovation in this field in a very long time. Just some really crazy facts. We are studying right now nanoplastics, which is probably how we got in touch with Medea, because we got in touch with Oakcrest. But for the average tampon or pad that a woman uses, let's say like a Kotex or a Tampax, every single product sheds 10 billion nanoplastics into the uterus with every product. So by the end of your period, you're getting like 170 billion nanoplastics, which is insane. This caused problems like, problems that we don't even know yet, because, you know, these synthetic plastics are being introduced in the market in the last 30 years. But problems that we can already see, like hormone imbalance being the #1 thing that we get from synthetic materials. And also infertility. So another reason I started this company was because 5 years ago, I lost everything in the Malibu fire, went through really crazy hormonal issues, dealt with stress, then moved to Portugal and then went to Paris for a few years, lived through the Notre Dame fire, got lead poisoning, went through a whole nother round of hormone issues. And so I just started to look at every single thing that was going inside my body. And at the same time I was in Portugal, my ex-husband was building a hemp processing facility for Zara. So I saw all of these companies trying to move on to natural and regenerative materials. And I thought, why can't we do this in women's health? Why can't we do this in period products? So the idea began, I emailed like 200 factories. Everyone was like, no, the technology, the processing is not there yet. I was like, okay, I just went my separate way. And then eventually I kind of just could not let the idea go. I saw that there was other people who were trying to pursue it. So I taught myself some Mandarin. I got on the web. I looked for every single paper manufacturer in the East, and we eventually found someone who could spin at our weight. And so what our product is we basically take upcycled hemp fiber. So hemp that would have been used for building materials, organic fiber, by the way, CBD or protein production, we make into a paper, and that's how we make our period products. So right now we have pads, moving on to tampons. That's a whole nother FDA situation that we are not tackling yet, because that's like millions of dollars, and we are a startup, you know what I mean, like bootstrapped. But that's what we're doing with Rift Care. Oh wait, how do I? Okay. And so Rift Care is also not just a brand that makes period products. I realized that women's health is a huge, it's just a huge underdeveloped and understudied science, basically. And so what we want to do, besides just making period products, something that we're launching next, is actually supplements. And when a woman is 12 or 13 and she walks into a doctor's office and she's having trouble with acne or bloating or cramping or a million other issues, she's immediately prescribed synthetic hormones. And this happened to me, this happened to Rebecca. And so when she got married when she was 25, she dealt with fertility issues. And for me, like I said, I had major hormone issues and I was just being prescribed synthetic hormones. And I just learned from some traditional West African herbs and also from Chinese herbs that I was actually clearing my body of excess hormones and balancing my hormones with supplements. These were things that synthetic progestin and estrogen just could not do for me. And we've now been testing this out with dozens of women. And these have also been used in menopause for years. And so in different milligrams and different strengths, we can actually use them to treat issues for women premenopausal, basically the age of 18 to 40. So that's also what we're working on. How do I? Okay, perfect. And then why hemp? Hemp is really like just better in general than cotton. When you think about it, it's got thousands of uses, from food to fiber to plastic. It's regenerative. Like I said, it's really restoring the soil. So there's so many other things that we did R&D with, and for price, I think hemp also made the most sense. Like, we want to make a luxury product, but we don't want to be like the Gwyneth Paltrow of the period care. You know what I mean? And like, no one can afford us, because I really did want to make a silk pad. I did. I tested with silk, wool, tencel, all these different things. And hemp really did outperform in every single way. First of all, when we use it at our percent, which is 50% hemp, 50% biodynamic regenerative cotton, it does exist. There is good cotton, but it's hard to find. We actually got killing of like 80% of bacteria. It's antifungal. I was an athlete. I ran track and I was also a professional cheerleader. Performs better than any cotton or any polyester product in the market. We have 100% positive reviews. And I was like, I don't know a single company that has that, but our product really does outperform. And so we feel like hemp is the future of period care for those reasons. And then also, why supplements? I just explained a little bit, kind of the scarcity mindset of what people are currently dealing with when they go to the doctor with any hormone issue. We basically haven't had any innovation in women's birth control. I don't think has had innovation in 80 years. So a lot of the things that we're using now were developed in the 1940s. And we've got to have better solutions, whether it's clinical solutions, whether it's things that are going through the FDA, or just natural and lifestyle solutions. And so that's why we feel like bringing supplements to women who are very young and want to deal with issues that are not related to pregnancy, but related to hormones. It's really important for them to have alternative solutions. and also consumer behavior, we had a lot of questions like, would women really be willing to pay $2 more for this product? And I said, if you had the choice to drive a Prius or Ferrari, what would you drive? You see my Prius out there, but I would choose a Ferrari. It's just better. It's better performing. I think when you use organic products, or even tonight, we're eating vegan food. And I think a lot of you just feel the vitality of when you eat a healthy meal, when you eat a fresh meal. And so when I'm telling people about the benefits of using a natural versus a synthetic material, because it does cost 4 times as much, let's just put that out there. I mean, and then they use it and they see it in the customer reviews. I think it speaks for itself. It outperforms, it over delivers in terms of absorbency, bacteria fighting. And so consumers are just looking for non-toxic products in general, especially Gen Z. We've got some Gen Z on the call. We know them. They are not brand loyal. They are very product focused. They want to see innovation, and they want to see companies who want to change the world. So if a company can be all those things and be transparent from the beginning, you can basically get a Gen Z consumer to be emotionally attached to your product, which is also what we want to do with our brand. I'm going forward. Wait, I meant to go back.
Page up and page down.
Page up. Oh.
On the keyboard.
Oh, I could just use the keyboard. That is very, I don't know why I wasn't doing that. Yes, when it comes to fertility, lifestyle matters. You know, so we try to educate on social media. Education is the #1 way that we're getting any sales. Like, we haven't done any ad spend. We launched 4 months ago, and it's basically just all been influencers and education. No other period companies really talking about hormone health. And so we feel like when we really put the menstrual cycle and just menstrual products in that category of hormone health, it makes sense, because everything that we use, I mean, think about it, you're using, for women, it's 40 years, a quarter of the month, and you're using this product, it does have effects. And so when we're talking about fertility, I mean, the fact that a lot of women don't even know, they can't even read the ingredients that are in their products, or they read them and they don't know what implications those products actually have. So it's very important for us to be talking about these things and how they actually affect your fertility over time. I think fertility rates too have dropped 40% in the last 30 years, which is frightening. We know that not everybody wants to have children, but when you want to make sure you had that option. I think they said about 70% of Gen Z still does want to have children. And this is a conversation in a white space that's just not happening. And a little bit about the landscape. I think that there's a lot of companies right now that are entering the market and they're not really thinking about biodegradables. There's maybe 2 or 3 bigger ones like Natracare, and then there's us. Of course, organic, that is just the standard for us. Regenerative, yes. Plant-based, think about plant-based plastics. So right now using with a potato starch-based plastic as our leak-proof part, but eventually moving on to hemp plastics, which we're also working on. And then also solutions for hormone health. So we've seen a lot of period companies just come out with more products that aren't really dealing with women's problems like pain, PMS, symptomatic depression, all the things that we want to treat with our supplements. So we really see ourselves being able to be like a one-stop shop for a consumer when she's thinking about her entire menstrual cycle, because it's 4 cycles. It's not just a period, it's also the ovulation, the follicular, all these different phases that a woman goes through. And there's not a single brand that's really targeting all these phases. And then our advantages, like I said, I came from living in Portugal and, you know, watching someone build a factory. And so there's been people trying to do this project for about a decade. I had like a very much idea on a napkin type of idea. And then I gave it to someone, got our first pre-product check. Within 2 months, we had a prototype. And then 8 months later, we were in market. We launched exclusively with Erewhon, which is an organic retailer in Los Angeles. It's kind of like a celebrity hotspot. But I thought that was a great place for us to launch, because that really was, you know, our dream consumer. But we really do want this to be mass scale. We're also launching with TJ Maxx on the East Coast in a few weeks, which is extremely exciting because we're able to offer our product a little bit lower, but still stay out of the competition of our Pacific Northwest and West Coast consumer, and also get that data and just see, because we were looking at our sales and realizing most of our sales are coming from the Midwest, the South, places where people actually don't have access to this type of period care, but they're finding us on TikTok, they're finding us on Instagram, they're finding us on Amazon. So yeah, new technology. We also are using a super absorbent polymer, which we're working on with a very exciting company. These things are usually petrol based and they're very close to women's skin. So we're having a new company, a new biotech company that's making that We're exclusively partnered with them for the next few years. So we're going to bring in the first biodegradable plant-based superabsorbent polymer to the market in pads. That's super exciting. And then marketing expertise from me. So my business before this was actually as an influencer manager. I managed like Harry Styles band, people on the Disney Channel that you might know. I recently just merged that business with a larger agency. So my agency was Role Models Management. I just went through a merger with Natural Models, which was the biggest plus size agency, but they wanted to acquire ethical talent. And so with that company, I helped brands like Nike and Timberland and, makeup companies like tell their sustainability story. So I think it only made sense for me that the next thing I got into was a consumer company. And then the market opportunity, it's huge. I mean, besides just supplements and our period products, we've been going viral on TikTok lately for talking about just the women's cycle in general and how you can eat, exercise, and supplement around your cycle. And so we see an app coming for that we've been working on, and an AI-powered shopping experience where women can basically put in their cycle and know what they should be eating, how they should be exercising, what supplements they should be taking. So these are also things that are in the works as we are looking for opportunities to scale this project to what it really could be. And then our vision for the future. So we really do see ourselves creating a full movement for women that doesn't exist yet. There's tons of funding that is going into life sciences, and we're hoping that some of that can trickle to women's sciences. I was at the Near Future event today with some really heavy hitters who are starting huge supplement companies, like Seed, which raised $140 million and secretly put $40 million towards women funding. And I was like, yes, thank you for doing that. Because it is very hard, especially when we're talking about just wellness or anything that's not going on an FDA track. So for us, building that data and releasing these supplements and releasing these products, and then being able to also, interface with our consumer and get this data for future projects is really important to us, especially for younger women. And traction, I mean, we're still very new. We're in a few stores. Like I said, we're launching with TJ Maxx in a few weeks. So that's going to obviously open up our customer base, but we just hit 5,000 customers, which is extremely exciting. And we're also, we're growing our team. It's very small right now. It's myself and my co-founder, Rebecca Caputo. She's actually a biologist. She's amazing. We have a lot of people on our team and on our advisor board who come from working in consumer. The 7th generation family just stepped behind us and is helping us go through all of our, just everything I had questions about, because they've already exited their companies in terms of, building products that need to go through FDA clearance and go to the market and go to exit. They've been extremely helpful with us, my best friends that launched a lot of consumer companies around food, but also regenerative, organic. And just a really great group of advisors and programs and accelerators that got us here today through Oakcrest. So yeah, that's it. Thank you. Wow. I'm staying here. Okay.
So how did you link up with Rebecca?
So myself and my co-founder are both from Venice Beach. So I met her at a park when we were kids, and then my brother was best friends with her cousin. So we just were best friends, and I started working on this, and I launched the Kickstarter. So it wasn't always us. It was me doing it alone. And I don't like being alone. So anyway, we're super Capricorn. We're born 4 days apart. We're best friends. And she was just like, I'm doing this project with you. And I was like, I don't know if I want another co-founder, because I've had co-founders and I'm always the one who's in the end, in the gutter, doing all the work. And Rebecca just proved to be the most gritty, gnarly co-founder I could have ever found. She's amazing. Mm-hmm.
So what is the FDA? What do you have to do with regard to the FDA to do this? Anything, or is it unregulated?
So for the pads, we already passed through the FDA for that. It was a very easy 510(k) clearance because it's a class 1. So because pads technically sit outside your body, it's very easy. We have to submit all of our paperwork, all of our factory work, any testing, absorbency, etc. Rebecca did that super easy. With the tampons, that is a little bit different because it's a class 2 medical device. It goes inside the body. And so there's a few levels of clearance. And then with the supplements, we're not doing any of that with the FDA track. It's labels on it, read, we are not a doctor, take them at your own risk type of situation. And also FDA clearance for some future things that I cannot talk about yet.
You're being recorded.
There's someone online. Wait, I think.
Yeah. Why is hemp more expensive to use?
So hemp right now is actually costing the same amount as organic cotton. It does cost more than regular cotton, but it's just because it hasn't scaled. So scaling is basically when you take something and you make so much of it that it's cheaper. Like, you know, you try to order something on wish.com, they're like, order one for $9.99 or order 70,000 for 79 cents. And so you just like order 70,000 stickers, like personal experience. So yeah, I mean, that's really the reason. So we hope to scale the hemp production so that it's actually cheaper than a regular organic cotton pad.
Are you working on a subscription model right now?
Yes. So we have subscription on Amazon, and then we also have subscription on our website, but we're building a new website because we feel like it could be more effective in the way we do our subscription. It's just like different website plugins, and we built our first website like with our first money, and it's not good enough.
Yeah, we've all been there.
Yes.
Are you also considering creating opportunities on your website for people to donate for girls that maybe can't afford these products in certain parts of the world?
You know, we actually thought about doing that. And I think as we're building out our new website, something we'll do where you can purchase a product. It's just not available on our current website to like do it digitally and then have us see like where that's going.
Yeah.
But I think it would be like donate a product. So as you're checking out, you can like add $1 because we do donate product, but our product is like kind of expensive and we'd like to do more.
Right.
So yeah.
But I'm thinking of women like me who, you know, I'm at the stage where I have my own personal climate all the time. But this issue is really important to me, and being able to provide better products for people who maybe don't have access to that is something that I might be passionate about.
Yeah. So we also give 2% of our sales to the Violence Intervention Program, which is super important and close to my heart. It's in downtown Los Angeles. They have volunteer days. We're trying to do teen volunteer days. So please sign up for our newsletter because we're going to get t-shirts and like do the whole thing. We have matching t-shirts and take pictures. But the VIP Center downtown is where we do our product donations and where we also do monetary donations, which we plan on doing at the end of the year. So the VIP Center is, you know, for women fleeing domestic violence. And we believe that they actually deserve access to good period products, not just like the Tampax stuff that's donated to them, but like, so they can feel better. They're trying to change their lives. And so that's very important to us. Yeah.
But is there some translate? Is there some training or the difference in the use of this to the pads that someone already used, or they have to learn timing of the sizes that set they, you know, like I know there's on the that door, why is it such as backs and small or whatever. Are you dealing with that whole range of stuff?
No, you know what? We haven't dealt with that because our product performs like any other product on the market. But the interesting conversation is actually around the biodegradable plastic part, because people are like asking if our products are compostable or like is our wrapper recyclable? And that's a huge issue that I think everybody making biodegradable plastic right now is dealing with. Like, no, you cannot throw our wrapper in the recycle because it's plant-based. Like you could put it in the compost, then you can't put the pad in the compost because it would add too much nitrogen. And so we're trying to figure out like how to have those conversations around the plastic. Like, should we just make our wrapper recyclable and then people could just throw it in the recycle and then throw the pad in the trash? So we're thinking about that, or even how to make it completely plastic free. Like we use plant-based plastic now, but if we had double sides of a non-woven with our sap in the middle, it could be non-permeable, and then we could just be completely throw it in the trash and have it biodegrade within minutes after throwing it away.
Okay. And the second question is, there the production of hemp-free products, are there byproducts that get fed to other markets, or those help them offset costs?
Yeah, so for us, I mean, we don't deal with that. We just basically take the bulk fiber from, I believe, a CBD oil processor, And so we're taking one of the byproducts. I wonder what else they do with it, because we need a pretty upgraded version of the material to get the softness in our pads. I wish I would have bought one and like been passing around a maxi pad. That would have been kind of gross, but kind of cool. But yeah, we are the premium use of it, and I'm sure they have other uses. Mhm.
And your supplier for that is in?
My supplier for that, our supplier right now is in Turkey.
Is Turkey.
Yeah, but ever since we started the project, it's really interesting because like I said, we had 200 no's. So for anybody who's in the call who wants to start a business, no's don't mean SHIT, just keep going. But we've now had bids from companies in Canada who are trying to work with us, companies in Germany, companies in North Carolina who want to now produce this because they have the spinning technology, the non-woven spinning technology. So yeah.
Chris online is very interested in talking more about the supply chain and the regulatory issues of working with him.
Yeah. So the only place, we thought that we were going to have to do some like special woohoo thing with the FDA to get the hemp pad cleared because it hadn't been done before. And we just submitted it and they looked over it and they were like, pay us our X $1,000. We're like, okay. The only place we've had regulatory issues, honestly, has been with social media. Because it's still bad to use the word hemp. Like Facebook and Instagram are so bad with hemp. So we haven't done any online advertising, and we now have to get a company to make sure that we're 100% compliant, because it's like we could be making 10 times more money if we were able to advertise on Instagram. With Amazon, we've had 0 issues with using the word hemp. I feel like we use it all over the place and they don't mind. Like we talk to people one-on-one on Amazon, so they know who we are and they understand that we're like a product just like a t-shirt. But yeah, in terms of social media advertising, I heard Google's really great with hemp. And so we're also gonna, like work on Google advertising. But as soon as you use it on Instagram or Facebook, it's like, oh, I got 2 likes, because they will not push this to anyone.
So what
Talk to
is
Elon.
what is the relation between cannabis and hemp?
Yeah.
It's a basic question I could probably Google, but.
Yeah. So, for me,
No,
Oh.
what is it, is cannabis related, is it the same plant or is it completely, you're getting from a source that is the same source?
yeah, I mean, different plants. So there's like the, cannabis sativa oil, there's hemp, and then there's marijuana, and they're completely different. Hemp and the marijuana plant actually could have an equal amount of uses for different things. Hemp is just like a long fiber chain. When it's processed, it's actually a very short fiber, which is why to get our non-woven, it was so difficult. But with hemp, it's more malleable than I would say like a regular marijuana fiber. So with hemp, that's why you can make the concrete with it, and also make a t-shirt with it, and also make paper with it, and also, get it to an oil while also having leftover for proteins. So the difference really is in the length of fibers. Why are they, sorry, I'm like talking like a scientist. Why are they concerned? I don't know. They're haters. Truly, that's all I can think.
Honey, it's the same thing if you use the word fertility, it's poison.
Oh, really? Yeah. And even we're using the words period. So when we first came out with our brand, we're like, hemp periods. And they were like, shut it down. So it's kind of like, it's a lot. Are there any?
Remember when we tried to advertise even our section on cryptocurrencies, we got kicked off. It was blockchain. We got kicked off.
On Facebook?
Yeah.
Wow.
So do you see, one of the things I keep thinking about, Europe seems to be a lot more progressive in generative type items.
Yeah.
At least that's what I have seen and what I've read. Here in the United States, we seem to be a few years behind. Do you see any policymakers out there currently today trying to push these agendas that you could potentially associate with? Or do you see policy going after the plastics guys? What do you see for the future in that world?
Yeah, I feel like there's actually been a lot of government in the Netherlands, in France, in Portugal, that's actually investing in the infrastructure. We need to do projects like this. Like sometimes, I've had conversations with investors. Right now, we've only done angel investors, but when we had these conversations, they're like, well, why don't you do it here? And why don't you? And I'm like, okay, Europe and Asia are investing the most in regenerative agriculture because I don't know why, actually. I don't know if it's like the subsidies are different or farmers can actually still survive. There's so many different socioeconomic factors as well.
subsidy structure.
Yeah, it's the subsidy structure. But with Europe, I do also see us launching there sooner than later. We've definitely had some interest in Europe, but we're like, we can't afford to like ship things there and produce a new product, but there's a lot of appetite for it. And it's really interesting because European companies, they'll be up for 2 years and they'll come to America and dominate the market, like Oatly, right? Like you've all seen the Oatly mill. And American companies will exist here forever and never move to Europe. And I see such a big opportunity. I mean, even just going with like, you know, a store here that also has chains or owns chains in the UK or in France, or, you know, some of my favorite grocery stores from living in Europe. So there's huge opportunities. And I think it's also cheaper to be there because I pay so many tariffs on my product here and so many taxes. And we shouldn't have to pay tariffs or taxes on necessary products like diapers and pads, but we do. So I definitely see that being like sooner than later a market that we will penetrate.
So, you use words antimicrobial, antibacterial, antifungal. Do you have any data on that?
Yes, we do. And even the percentages of like the amount, the ratio that we'd have to use to get that, to get those properties. Mhm.
Are you targeting any of those populations?
Not necessarily. I feel like we're more focused on really people who are wanting to do organic or better for you, or even people who can't use things like cups or tampons because, or and they don't want to use pads because they are typically very uncomfortable because, I mean, a lot of times they're made out of plastic. So I feel like we're more targeting, like I said, the organic or women who just want like a more comfortable solution. But I see that in the future, but we need more data around that. We also want more data around pain. Because just like the nano pads, our pads do help with pain, but we cannot make that claim yet. So.
I think it's gotta always remember that FDA line of the process.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like I'll tell the retailers, I'm like, you can say that it helps with pain because it does, but we don't put that on the package.
For the industrial nations, not Africa.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just cost at this point. We also talked about when we first had the company, especially because we were thinking about dealing with off-price retailers, producing something that wasn't biodegradable, but was still organic and still used all the other ingredients. So it still felt the same, but it was made out of plastic. So that could be cheaper. That's also an option. Or also, if we were producing in some of these other countries, we also had bids from, you know, different factories all over the place now. There's factories in Mexico, there's factories in Brazil. But it would take a strategic partner to get there. And also there's so much waste in underdeveloped countries that for me, it's like, what ways can we not produce more waste? So there's also period underwear, which are leak proof, they're reusable, they're fantastic. If you have daughters, granddaughters, like get them on leak proof period underwear, they are life-changing. So we're also gonna be producing those. And for a girl in Africa who doesn't have access to period products, if we can give her a pair of period underwear and get her to be able to wear these and wash these every single night, it's completely life-changing, game-changing. But if we now have to deal with waste, bacteria, blood, constant stream of products, it's just not like that. I don't want to do that. And a lot of companies do that. And I think it's kind of like BS. So like you're just creating more of a problem.
From a regenerative standpoint, from a recycling standpoint, did any of this come up? Is it a biohazard issue that you can't throw it into recycling, or you can't throw it in recycling?
Yeah. I mean, so you could throw it in the compost. It just depends on like if you want your plants to die or not. Well, you're just going to be adding like too much of the wrong, you know, like chemicals into the soil. So you could do it, but not to grow food. You could compost it, but not if you're growing food. If you're just having like general fertilizer, or even grass.
You have to have a recipe basically for compost.
Mm-hmm.
You have to have so much of this kind of thing and so much of, you know, whatever you mentioned, the nitrogen and.
So may end up in the landfill, unfortunately, you have to throw it in the black trash instead of.
But the pads themselves
Will compost.
In a trash pot will decompose.
They will decompose. So technically, okay, so a normal pad takes about 500 to 800 years to decompose. Ours, even in a landfill, is still going to be about a year. So it's still better than the solutions out there. I mean, I wish everybody just had like acres and you could just go bury your tampons and pads and like with your buried period products, but like we're not doing that. So yeah, we're doing the best we can, you guys. Eventually we'll be making more period underwear than disposables, and like everyone will switch over and it'll be great. And I have this like whole idea about it, but
Yeah, but there's not enough water to help that problem.
exactly. And then it's like a whole
Water,
different
you
issue.
want-
Yeah, there's a lot to think about.
Can you make a distinction between biodegradable
And compostable.
and compostable or
Yeah, we co-
decomposition?
We call them biodegradable, made with compost grade materials. Mhm.
So you've got all this business, and you're able to scale, and what if you got Costco or whatever you name it, said, yes, tomorrow, we need X number of this, can you scale?
Yeah, I mean, we can definitely scale. Like our production can make 5 million boxes for us a year. We actually produce at Procter and Gamble's factory, which is funny because they were like, "You did what with who?" And I was like, "Yeah, we sent them an offer they couldn't refuse." So we can definitely scale. I mean, I think the thing is just like money and cost right now. It's like we're very new. We're 4 months old. We're just getting into the small retailers, seeing what the taste is. I mean, like we've now become #1 at Erewhon, and we're like, yes. We need to become #1 at like all the independent stores. Now we move on to like the chains. Like if you've been to Oregon, you know, the Fred Meyers, the Natural Grocers. So kind of going from there. And if we wanted to scale like tomorrow, I mean, it might come at a cost of like, could we scale our wrapper completely? Like, would that be plant-based or would that now have to go regular plastic? So we're not there yet. It's also like, we've been fundraising, got some like really crappy term sheets. So we're like, we'll scale them when the market is back up a little bit and we can do that.
What that might be, how are you protecting other than brand and execution? Like, it sounds like an execution play.
Yeah, it's an execution play. I mean, like when you think about The Honest Company or 7th Generation or, you know, Growth Collective, like they don't have IP protected product. They just have a dope ass brand. And I think that's what we have here. It's like I've helped companies that are now doing $100 million in ARR, scale their companies, scale their influencer programs. And so that's basically what we're doing. I think that a lot of these big conglomerates are really, really bad at building new companies. And so we were like, let's just kind of build a new company that we don't think that the big guys can build right now, but that they will need because they're still empty on the shelves. Yeah. And there are some things that were IP protected that we have been talking about doing, especially with the legalization of a lot of things in the next few years, but I can't talk about that because there's children here. Huh?
And you're being.
Oh yeah. Yeah, exactly. Government.
If I understand the supply chain that you're using now, you're getting material from Turkey.
From Turkey.
That's raw material?
No, that's finished goods.
That's finished goods. So
Mhm.
you get the hemp waste that goes to a factory in Turkey that turns it into your sheets.
Mm-hmm.
And then they go where?
And then they go to China,
They're going to China.
and then we produce in China. We could now produce
And that's production and packaging.
production, packaging, everything comes here, ships directly to retailers and fulfillment center.
So is the shipping from China to here so much more significant or significantly cheaper that you wouldn't take it into Europe?
I think, no, I mean, we had like cost quotes because I was thinking of possibly putting it into 2 fulfillment centers. Honestly, shipping right now, I don't want to cry because my mascara is not waterproof, but it's brutal. So I don't want to talk about it. But yeah, I mean, that all depends. And there's different people now. Like once you launch a product, there's people who start bidding on getting you cheaper and cheaper shipping, cheaper product. We can do cheaper packaging for you. So that's also been very interesting because I think to put our like 30,000 units here, it was like $11,000. And then I had bids for like $4,000 2 weeks later. And I was like, it's on the ocean. Why didn't you tell me this? So yeah.
So Procter & Gamble, making it in China for you?
No, their main factory. So Procter & Gamble, I think there's like 4 feminine hygiene factories in the US, 1,000 total in the world, 500 of them just in China. Like they just dominate. And so Procter & Gamble's main factory is like trying to pick up other business right now, which I don't know if I can legally say that, but they are. And so we're one of the projects that they picked up.
So that'd be a new source of manufacturing.
And yeah, but we are hoping to produce in Mexico because it would be so much cheaper, no drayage and all that stuff.
Once you try on a few.
It's in northern China, sir. Yeah.
I'm not sure I understood properly. Did you say that standard female products are in short supply in stores?
Yeah, very short supply. I mean, because of the war and because of, I mean, PPE with masks, like the PPE polyester masks are the same material that we use for top sheets of feminine hygiene products and also the non-woven security veil on feminine hygiene products. They're also made with viscose and rayon. And so a lot of that stuff's been used for PPE and now plastic and oil. I mean, all these things too are like petrol based. So if we're dealing with problems with oil, we deal with problems with plastic. And people usually don't put those two things together. But I'm like, yes, the gas price, the price of your tampons, the price of the packaging for that product you buy at the store, they're all related. And the shipping, yeah, all of it.
So, how are you doing your, learn cycles? So, you know, gathering data and learning from the products that you're putting them out there.
Yeah, you know what's been really interesting is Amazon. So Amazon is not my favorite because we just break even on Amazon, and I want to be like, you know, like. But it's got great second party customer data, and then from our own website, there's first party customer data. There's also just like very much on the ground data that we get, like because we're in these retailers and they're small and they're in Los Angeles. And they've been doing now thousands of boxes reordered. It's like we can go in and talk to the customers, people DM us. We're saving all of this information. Like when people DM us and people leave reviews, like we even had this one review where a girl left 4 stars actually on something, but then she changed it to 5 stars because she was like, I love your product, but I can't tell what size things are and you guys need to write those. And I was like, well, when I produce 1 million, I can afford to like have my logo on all of my packaging, you know? So we're listening to every single thing customers saying about packaging design, compostability, recyclability, comfort, absorbency, everything, and we're taking into account.
Are you going to use crowdsourcing like I know Indiegogo has programs for product testing and quick build measure learn cycles? Are you considering doing anything like that? Or
so we actually launched with the Kickstarter, and I would say that was like the hardest thing I've ever done in my life besides pushing a baby out of my vagina. I would never do that again. Never. Yeah, no. But I like the idea and I will look into it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's a whole lot easier once you have a product. Then, you know,
Oh my God.
like companies like Procter and Gamble and these big manufacturers are using Kickstarter and Indiegogo campaigns for products that they're considering.
Innovation
And testing program.
How naughty. Is that good or bad?
It's neither. It's just, it's data.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, they learn if there's not really any interest in the product, then they know, well, we're not going to make this thing. Right? So I know in particular, I've worked with Indiegogo on their innovation program.
Yeah.
Do that. No. Yeah. They use a generic product name, but it can be a very inexpensive way to do A/B product testing and to cycle through different brand and innovation ideas.
Yeah.
My impression was you guys, you already have a product selling, right?
Yeah.
Right, and you've been in business 4 months.
Yeah.
So that one is congratulations.
Oh, thank you.
Your projections for the full year, do you see any, is it too early to make projections of where you're going to be at the end?
We're starting to make projections just based on like how fast we're growing our sales. We have 2 amazing sales brokers. We just got one in the Pacific Northwest. So really just focusing on California, Oregon, and Washington. And we're just like, okay, on these chains, we do an average reorder of like $220 a month, which doesn't seem like a lot, but $220 a month, if you do an average reorder and you just get CVS in California, that's already like $250,000 a month, you know? So we're just kind of taking the data we have now with a very small subset of specific customers and like trying to factor that in if we got into other stores where we know the sales are 20 times more, but we're also a new player. So we're not, you know, we might just do what we're doing at Erewhon at Target. They might not even keep us in, or they might only scale us to like 40 stores to start with. So yeah, we're doing those projections, but I don't think we're ready to launch at like those bigger places.
Do you have any measures built in to measure like saturation? So you have a particular area, maybe product in a larger market to measure when you're hitting a saturation point. And then you can make the capacity all.
Yeah, so there are these different companies that take data from every single brand that's selling on the market. And my goal is just to get that like 0.1 line, because there's all these different companies and there's only one organic company that's got that like 1%. And I'm like, yeah. So if we could just get that like on one of the top 20 lines, I mean, that's really the goal, because it still is like a very small percentage of the market. Although it's growing, the organic market's growing much faster than the overall market.
But you're number one.
But we're number one at Erewhon. So we're like, if we could just like replicate that.
Online is wondering, what is it about the hemp pads, excuse me, that makes it antimicrobial? And then you thought about hemp toilet paper.
Yeah. Yeah. So we actually did R&D for our product for diapers, toilet paper, nursing pads, like everything that could use a non-woven, we were like, we could do, because I see this brand really building out to being more like an Honest Company or a 7th Generation than like a Honey Pot or Lola or those other companies. And then what about it? It's like different. So there's different plants that basically, how do I really explain it? Just imagine like an interlocking, like when you look at your clothing very, very closely, I don't think they can see this, but there's like an interlocking of all the fibers. It's the way that hemp interlocks and just the properties that it naturally has within them. I don't know the full science because I'm not Rebecca Caputo, but it's just the way that it is.
Your
like this,
business partner.
my business partner. But when you compare it to a polyester, for example, like let me just also tell you why plant-based materials are so much better. So when you wear polyester, like a Lululemon top, basically the polyester doesn't open both ways. The fibers don't open both ways. So when your bacteria gets into the fiber, it gets caught in the fiber, which is also why when on your period and you wear like an always pad, you can actually smell, because the always pad is not releasing bacteria the way it's supposed to. It's made out of plastic. But then when you wear a hemp or a cotton pad, these fibers actually do open because they're natural fibers. So they release bacteria easier and they also breathe better.
And is it the releasing of the bacteria or the preventing of it from growing internally?
It's both.
Okay.
Yeah. So the fiber has its own properties, but it's also the fact that it's a natural material.
So it's the hemp by its very nature.
Yeah.
And the way that you have it woven, I suspect.
Yeah. The cellulosic build plus the spun lace technology. Mm-hmm.
So it's just the two of you now, or maybe you have other employees or need them soon, or?
We need them. So there's me and Rebecca. We also have a creative director. We have a web girl, and then we have 2 sales. So, and then our advisors who are like honestly amazing, and like they help us so much. Any questions we have about anything, they've been through it. Like our first investor was Raj, who like met him at a coffee shop and was just like, he was going through a divorce. And I was like, I just went through a divorce. And I like sending this stranger all of these books. And like, he ended up being just like the CEO of, you know what I mean? I was just like, what? So obviously has, you know, been in consumer for a long time. And then Ryan Black, who's the CEO of Amazon, like bought Acai to United States. He's my daughter's godfather. He's best friends with her dad. And so he's also just been, you know, able to answer like any question that we might have. So I feel like they're kind of part of the team because I text them all the time. So yeah.
You said something before, you said that the 2 teachers, the conference you're going to, you said you wanted to share with us about.
Oh yeah. Oh my God, you guys. I was just with the founder of Google before I got here, Sergey. It was so funny because he's just recently divorced. He's totally like, I'm going to mute this really fast. But we were playing this game where they had to say like who was single. All the women were like, like, you know, like throwing themselves on him. And I was like, who is this guy? Like, he's the founder of Google. I'm like, so what? And then I look and I'm like, he's $110 million net worth. And like the founder of Seed was there, and like every single investor you could have ever. I just met this woman at this event a few weeks ago and at this dinner. And then she was like, are you single? And I was like, yes. And she's like, do you want to come to this event? And I was like, sure. And then she sent me a ticket and it was like $10,000. And I was like, girl, I'm not paying $10,000 to meet my future husband. And I was like, but if you need a volunteer, let me know. And so then I volunteered. So that's why I'm there. But then like, they don't actually have me doing work. I'm just kind of like greeting people and being nice and like telling them where to go. But anyways, yes, it is the funniest event ever. Huh? It's called the Near Future Conference and it's in Malibu at Calamigos. I'm actually going back there after. I have to leave here at 8 p.m. because there is a 70s themed pool party. And one angel investor I was talking to is going to be there. So I will be there with her and she seemed very tipsy and fun. So every single new, okay. Also, I have to put you guys on mute maybe for a second. And I mean, like every new technology that's coming to market starts here. And everybody who invests in it goes here. So you just see that like I said, I mean, the net worth in the room was like $1 trillion. They're all sitting there and like, you know, what's the new next thing that we're investing in? And it's been very interesting conference so far.
You know, the thing you haven't talked about is in your hemp oil products.
My hemp oil, oh my gosh. Okay, so we also make a CBD lubricant. So that was the first product that we made. But I mean, a lot of women after childbirth deal with things like pain and discomfort. And one thing about CBD, which is also, we cannot advertise it, but it helps with pelvic relaxation, like increased stimulation, all these different things that women have troubles with. So I was going to the farmer's market and like selling this product because I made it for myself. My dad, rest in peace, dad, had a cannabis company actually. So he was making this oil and I was putting it in all of my pain spots. Like I had my daughter at 23, or 24, and I had major sciatica, just so many problems. And so I was like, oh my God, we can also use this. Like, so then oh, okay. That's what I was saying. So then I started making it and, you know, I was going to the farmer's market, just talking to lots of women and mothers about like how powerful this could be. And so we're also collaborating with this company called Vela Bioscience, which has actually got an FDA cleared CBD sexual lubricant product. One of my investors connected me with them because he also invested in that company. So it's been really interesting. Like there's still so much in women's health that we're figuring out ourselves because like it's underfunded. So.
I'm curious about the TJ Maxx. I think of TJ Maxx. I don't think I was going there for that.
Yeah. You know what? It's so random. So the TJ Maxx buyer was like retiring, and part of her retirement party, like we went to all the fancy stores in LA to check out the new brands, and they saw Riff and they were like, we have to have Riff. And then I had a call with them, and I actually worked at TJ Maxx when I was 18 years old. And I remember TJ Maxx, the one in Santa Monica, selling like Gucci and Louboutins and Givenchy and all these things. And then Marshalls and Ross are kind of like the lower end ones. So people who want to find higher end brands cheaper, go to TJ Maxx. People who want to find like Gucci, you know what I mean? And like those type of brands, go to Ross and Marshalls, which is okay. I go there to find things as well. But it was an opportunity for us to scale without distribution, with zero marketing costs, zero slotting fees. In case you guys don't know, when you go into retail, you can pay $100,000 just to get on a Whole Foods shelf. And so TJ Maxx buys from our competitor 80,000 units a month, which is like how much we were hoping to move in a year. And I was like, wait, what? Like it would be stupid for us to turn that down, especially because we told them, look, we plan on launching in this market and this market. And they were like, cool, we won't put you guys in those stores in those states. There's not a single retailer who's that easy.
I think like Sephora.
That's actually something we've been talking about too. Sephora, Ulta.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean Sephora. So,
Yeah. 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 And like people are here literally on their period buying mascara. They could just reach over and also grab a tampon. It makes so much sense. You should tell them that if you know them.
You know, would you consider manufacturing under a different label for, you know, custom label?
Oh yeah, we've already thought about white labeling, like especially if we were to do any off-price markets, we have another DBA that we could white label under for cheaper with a non-biodegradable packaging, which like I as much as I love the environment, like I also love money. So like we could do that. Yeah.
And you know, Creative News headquarters is about a half a mile away.
I know, I sent them samples. They did not respond to me. How dare they? If you know them, please call
Yeah,
them.
no,
Shamrock and Royal.
well,
There was this TikTok video that was like the best part about going to Trader Joe's is having to go to 3 other stores after. And it really is. It's like, I should be able to get my period products here. Yeah,
I think Trader Joe's needs to.
they need us. Thank you.
Just gotta call it $3.
No,
If you could package it with like that and some of those chocolate peanut butter cups, then you have.
That was honestly that's the whole plan. That's great. Why? Do they? What if I private labels for them? That's what I would want to do for them. I'd want a private label. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, we could do that, but like I said, it wouldn't be biodegradable. So that's the only thing. Yeah. I know. I know Whole Foods is just, it's very different now that it's with Amazon because all my buyers used to work with Whole Foods. They put companies out of business.
What
They
are your
do.
slot fees like it?
I mean, like $5,000 per SKU. Yeah, things like that, you know, like yearly fees. Plus you're paying distribution costs and like all the storage costs that they have. It's like, it's very high.
Yeah.
So
How many Heirloom stores are there?
there are 8
You're in all 8.
and we're all 8.
Um,
But it's about 8 o'clock and you need to get back to all those.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh my God, the high schoolers stayed on.